Hey girl, hey, I am coming to you straight from a workout. I am sweaty. It's going to be about 100 degrees here today, so I had to get it done. And with that said, I wanted to tell you something you may not know unless you've been around following me for a very long time. I used to weigh 220 pounds. Yeah, 220 pounds. And I think I'm a solid size 12. I also really don't know what my size is. I just generally order large, maybe extra large, sometimes medium. I don't obsess over it anymore. I'm 47, man. I have been subject to all that crap my whole life. For example, God love her, God rest her soul. My grandmother told me on too many occasions that my grandpa, my favorite grandpa, didn't like fat girls. And she always said that when I was gaining weight or had gained weight or came home after a break at college, and she would assess my body and tell me in no uncertain terms that I was fat or I'd gained some weight. So, today, how did I go from 220 pounds to not giving a fuck what the scale says? So, I was an army wife for the better part of 17 years, and I was also in the army. And I think that's where a lot of my body dysmorphia, body image issues came from, was because I was always getting stopped for weight and tape, even though I was a size 10, 12. Because I had curves, I never really fit the metrics for weight and tape, in my opinion. I'm sure if you look back at the 90s and the 2000s, the military would say something differently, but I was fit, I was strong, I was doing PT, and I was still too fat by their standards. But there was a time in my life where I, as an army wife, was alone. This happened a lot. Every time I moved, I was alone. And I started to get depressed because not only was I alone, I didn't have any friends. I was submerged into whole new cultures like Louisiana. Louisiana is vastly different to live at and in than Washington or Missouri or Virginia. So I ate. And if I'm being honest, I wasn't raised with great eating habits to begin with. I was born in middle America where most of my food predominantly was white bread, white potatoes, white chicken, white gravy. I mean, like barf. Not a lot of veggies, and I didn't grow up liking veggies. Veggies, a lot of the times, were my mom dumping green beans out of a can and boiling them. So, meat and potatoes. I was a meat and potatoes kind of girl, and we were poor, so we didn't have a lot of meat. Most people don't stick with a diet for more than a couple weeks. Now, I hated the word diet. I learned to hate that when I was in CrossFit because diet, D-I-E, die, and it implies there's a beginning and an end. Like it's a thing. You start it and then you end it, right? And yeah, nobody explained that to me either. I was fat, I was miserable, I was alone, I was depressed, and I didn't know where to turn for help. Definitely knew I shouldn't go to grandma, but I didn't know where else to go. So fast forward, I got pregnant, I miscarried, I got pregnant, I miscarried, I got pregnant, I was super sick, became preeclamptic, was bed rested, nearly died because of my blood pressure. My baby was lucky to be born alive. She was a preemie. And it was at that point that I knew something needed to change. So, yeah, the pregnancy sucked. It was hard, but that wasn't the turning point for me. The turning point was when I had to go to a military function and I had to go buy a pair of pants. And the only pants that I could buy that I could fit in comfortably were elastic waistband pants with a drawstring, similar to what I was seeing my grandmothers wear in my 20s. And yeah, like I said, when my husband came home from his second deployment, he's like, girl, you got to do something about that. You're fat. So I joined a gym and I got educated and I started to learn about food. I started going to, what would you call them, talks at the gym from some of the top CrossFitters on how to fix your food, whether it was paleo or Mediterranean, whatever. Just starting to actually look at food as fuel and not comfort, which that's how I grew up. Food was comfort, food was a band aid, food was a blanket. This all started in about 2000. And that was when I joined the army. That's when I wasn't meeting weight and tape no matter what I did. To 2010 when I joined the gym 10 years later after having my baby, my second daughter. It took me 10 years to figure it out, and a whole lot of depression and a whole lot of scones eaten in secret. 10 years of actually figuring it out. That gym, thank you, Amy, is the reason, as I said, I became a trainer. It's the reason I coach women today. It's the reason I have 2 master's degrees nearly. It's the reason I study and rabbit hole every piece of research that I can find on perimenopause. And that gem is the reason I became a trainer. It's the reason I coach women today. It's the reason that I've coached for the last, how old's my daughter? Almost 19 minus 2, 17 years now. And I can guarantee you that almost every client that I've had has sat down in front of me. Sorry, dry skin, getting used to Oregon. Has sat down in front of me and said she has a similar story to my elastic band pants. And if you were in the army and a woman, it's almost guaranteed that you had a weight and tape story as well. And all of that is a huge part as to why perimenopause hasn't flattened me the way it probably could have. That muscle strength that I built in my 20s and 30s competing in CrossFit and doing MMA and coaching and training is what has allowed me now to be more protected. Because muscle loss is one of the biggest threats at this stage in life. And I had no idea when I was training. I was actually in my 30s. I don't know why I said 20s. When I was in my 30s and 40s, like I didn't know that muscle loss was going to be a thing. So I already had a head start on women who didn't know that. Tamsin Fadal writes in her book, How to Menopause, that we women can lose up to 10% of our lean muscle mass between early and late perimenopause. And perimenopause can start in your 30s. And it did for me. Maybe it has for you. Maybe it won't. But that is twice the rate of muscle loss at any other stage in your life. Let that sink in. I'm not cheersing to that. If I had walked into this with this knowledge a decade ago, if I wouldn't have had any strength training foundation, I don't even want to imagine what I would be like right now. So I consider myself fortunate, even though my now ex-husband's comment was a little rude. I consider myself fortunate that I did something about it and that I educated myself and that I now have the opportunity to continue to educate myself and bring that knowledge to you. But something I want you to know is that the whole scale thing, not owning a scale, I didn't cross that finish line once and never have to think about it again. I have to think about it. I have clients who are addicted to their scales, like addicted, like have the app and have a digital and oh my God, live and die by it. But I set that boundary and I actively hold on to it. Like I told you, even at the doctor's, there's no reason for me to get on a scale. Now, if there were a medical reason and the doctor could prove that to me, there was a good reason to do it, fine. I let them weigh me. I just don't want to see it. And the number wasn't the problem. It was how unhealthy I was, how many prescription medications I was on. I think at one point in time it was like 10. I was in my 30s. In my 30s. Unfit, unhealthy, not eating right, and not knowing that I was eating wrong. So, if you're anywhere in this story, if you can see yourself anywhere in my story right now, alone, maybe eating your feelings, maybe your friend sends you a whole box of brownies and you eat them all. Yeah, I've been there. You make cake batter under the guise of baking a cake, but you eat the whole bowl of cake batter. Did it. Or maybe you're stuck on the eat less, work out more. God forbid. Get off the fucking treadmill. Go pick up some weights, okay? There's lots of YouTube videos. There's so many videos. Ask your chat or your Claude, hey, I'm starting out. Give me a 10-minute workout. All I have is a pair of 5-pound dumbbells. 5 pounds are better than nothing, girl. Fucking use some cans of tomatoes. You do not have to be miserable in your own skin. You deserve to be happy and feel good in your own skin. It's a human right. And if you want it, that's the first step. Now, make it happen. You can turn it around. I did it. I've done it multiple times. I've gained weight and lost it. I have fortunately stayed a size 12, even though I've done some bloating here and there in the last 5 years. I don't even know the last time it was bigger than a 12. I've been able to maintain it with lifting weights and knowing how to eat. So I built a free guide, 82 Symptoms of Perimenopause. You want to get it before September, before I take it down. You can print this out. You can take it to your doctor. You can mark up all the things that exist for you and hand them a physical copy. Plus, it's good for you to have as well. And share it with somebody who thinks, I don't know if I'm in perimenopause. So many documented symptoms. They're all documented from actual data and research and books. It's not me pulling stuff out of my fourth point or fifth point of contact, whatever that statement is. I wish I'd had this knowledge in my 20s. Please share it. And if you're looking for assistance, I don't want you to feel alone. I am opening up coaching. I have it available on my page right now, one 90-minute session where we address one or two issues. We come up with a plan on how to tackle it, and then you move forward with said plan. I'm here to hold your hand, to help you, to guide you, because that's what I do best, because I love to coach. So, if you don't live in Grants Pass, Oregon, and you can't come into my gym, I can help you virtually. It's not the first time. I have had many, many virtual clients over the last 17 years. So, all my love. And if you haven't done something to love yourself today, please go do that. Pedicure, manicure, soak your feet in Epsom salts. Go lay down on the floor. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, and it doesn't have to be super grand. So, all my love until next time.